You know, whether we like it or whether we hate it, the least common denominator of every programming project is, of course, a textual user interface. And of course, on most rational platforms, we have the ability to simply boot to a textual user interface before doing something like StartX on POSIX-inspired operating systems to start a graphical user interface. Of course, if greed is a reason you want to sell your GUI interface and changing things every 6 months sounds really good to you to keep people vendor locked, you don't want people to have a console user interface. Certainly never to boot to a console interface, to not start your user interface altogether, saving huge amounts of processing power, let alone memory, for their own personal application use. No, no, no. So when you sit down and crack your knuckles over your head and start writing a TUI application using modern Python, all we have to do really is see the operations that we want to do. And in this case, all we have to do is create a dictionary, as we've talked about previously, so as to plug in a function definition or function recipe, for lack of a better, so that when we detect what the user puts in, we can check for the full keyword, or in this case, simply the first character, assuming each one is unique in our display before activating our function. All well and good, and I call the pattern a function machine. But the fun thing about a function machine is whenever we're in gameplay, we can plug in different function recipes to each one of those operations, therefore adapting our very user interface so as to change our default operations to new defaults, surely never forgetting that args and kwargs are incredibly important because they're optional parameters that can or cannot be used depending upon whether we need or do not need to use them. Therefore, allowing ourselves to create a adaptable state machine. In other words, our user interface can adapt to whatever state our game or software development operations are in. So imagine the implications, not only in gameplay, but perhaps into migration from our local computers over to the cloud, certainly to our own local servers as we plug in new function definitions, to even remote procedure call operations in a different session using many different technologies, as we see here. Putting the fun in fundamental, go ahead and take a look at this demo up on GitHub using the link below, where we'll demonstrate how to migrate our simple creature creation to several back-end technologies without changing our user interface or expected user experience operations. If you'd like to learn more and hone your professional programming skills for Python, feel free to take a look at the free and open PyQuest project over on GitHub. And if you're interested in in-depth discussion as well as source codes to demonstrate each and every one of the first 100 beginner, intermediate, and advanced concepts, feel free to take a look at the book on Amazon. Follow for more.